Good morning, friends. This is Dennis Miracle. Today I'm going to be making the intersections bag, and you might be able to tell, although it's pretty light, I have run the first step, which is the main outline of the bag and the placement line for the zipper, and so we'll get right down to business and get the zipper in. So I've got, of course, my typical number 3 zipper, and we're going to place it. If it's a number 3, it's approximately 1 inch wide, and it should fit right between this line here and this line down here, and these two lines in the center is where the actual stitching is going to occur. So let's get our zipper in, and then we can get on with it. I always put a little piece here right at the very edge to hold it. So let me put this in the machine and get this sewn down, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and you can see that I have had the zipper sewn down, and the next thing we'll do is let me turn this hoop to the back side, and we'll find this out of the 4 lines. We'll find the bottom line here, and we'll take our first piece of lining and place it face down right at the edge of this 4th line, and make sure that it's centered between the two sides also. So let's take this down. Alrighty, now just pick the hoop up in a way that it kind of rolls over, lets this lining roll over to the front of the hoop, and let's take and fold it a time or two, and just once, and let's tape it to the frame of the hoop, and then let's grab our piece of our front piece of fabric, our main piece of fabric, and let's see, it's these really precious little dogs. And since we want it to look like this when we see the bag eventually, just take and roll it up this way, and then that will work out right when we get ready to, when the bag is done. It'll be in the right orientation. So let's take and do the same thing, line it up against this against the edge of the even though a little farther than the edge, but at least at the edge of the zipper, and tape it down. Okay, now let's take it to our machine, and a line of stitches is going to be run right where my finger's going, where I showed you. Well, it's going to be right here on right over this line of stitches again that sewed the zipper down. So let's get that done. Okay, let's turn this over first to the back to make sure that it's sewn. Yes, it's sewn fine. And now back to the front, and yes, it's sewn down fine. And what we're going to do is we're going to fold it down, but first we're going to put a piece of batting, and well, I didn't cut this. This is a 6x10 hoop, a 6x10 design, and so I cut all of my fabric 6x10 except for one piece. I cut this piece of batting that's going to go underneath the zipper here on the front 6 by 11 instead of 7 by 11. However, I forgot to do that, so this is it's just going to have to hang over the side here a bit. But let me smooth this down and pull this main fabric over it, and let me take my iron and set a nice crease here. Okay, that looks good. What an odd odor is coming off that fabric when it gets hot. It's not very pleasant, but who knows what chemicals are on these things. Anyhow, the next thing we're going to do is stick it back into the machine, and it's going to do all four sides it's going to tack down, because we're going to start putting our applique on, and I like to make sure it's held tightly down. So let me run and do that, and I'll be right back. All right, I'm back, and you can see that it has been stitched down on all four sides here. And the next thing we're going to do is I'll put it back in the machine, and it's going to run the placement stitch for the applique fabric. So let me do that now. Okay, I think you can see where the lines have been run, and next I'll take my piece of applique fabric, which is just a big piece of yellow faux leather, because it's going to match the pretty yellow that's in the fabric. So just lay it on top, smooth it down, put it back in, and it will do the tack down. So let's do that. Alrighty, they have been all tacked down, and so what I'm going to do is take my applique scissors, and I'm going to get rid of this upper part. Just follow this line as close to it as possible without cutting the stitches, and do the same thing down here. So all that's going to be left are these two little portions here. So let me do that off camera, and I'll be right back. Okay, this is what is left of this piece of vinyl, and I've got lots of vinyl left I'll keep to use for something else. Now I have put a pretty, what I thought was kind of a pretty fill in, and I've put it in separate steps in case you wanted to do it here, 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 here. One of these, all of these, none of these, two of these, three, whatever, because I like to give folks options about what they do. So I'm going to run, and I'm going to put the fill just on these two pieces of vinyl. So I'm going to run both of those steps, and I'll be back in a moment. Now you have a choice to make, whether to run the same, I don't know, maybe these are scales, fish scales or something. That's what they look like to me. You could run it here, you could run it here also. However, I must make a correction. I didn't realize when I digitized this, for some unknown reason, that it would the scales would make these ugly indentations in the satin stitch. So by the time you see this video, I will have removed the satin stitch at the earlier time and after it will be placed, the satin stitch itself will be placed after all of this, all of these fills have been run. So just pretend it's not here at the moment. I'm not going to bother running it again to cover this, because this is just a sample that I'm making. Probably won't be sold. So anyhow, with that minor correction, I'm not going to put fills up here on these two. I think I'm going to leave them alone. And so let me skip ahead a couple steps. Okay, I've just bypassed those two fills, one for each of this area. All right, now it's time to let the lining fall back to the back, which is where it belongs. So let's do that and turn it over. And let's remove these pieces of tape on the side. Okay, and then just pull this down, and maybe we can reuse these pieces. I think they're okay, good enough to make it through one more time. Okay, so let's take and put it back in the embroidery machine, and let's tack down this back lining. Okay, I've taken it off the machine, turned it all over to the back, and you can see it's fine. It's been sewn down on all sides. And after the four color stops where these four fills were run, that would be the point, and that is the point now where the satin stitch is located after all of these fills are completed. So you would have run that right before you ran this step here, this one we just did, where it went around and tacked down the back lining piece. But we're back on track here. The next thing we do is take our tape off over here, and I can get it off my finger, open up the zipper about 3/4 of the way, and I've made some little attachment points for a strap for a crossbody bag. I cut these, this is just grosgrain ribbon, I cut them 3 inches long, and I placed them about 1 inch inside the side seams. I just eyeball it. I don't get out a ruler and measure it, but I'm going to use as my reference point this line of stitches right here that we just, well, sewn for the second time because it was sewn earlier also. So I'm going to line that up. And by the way, I take the ribbon and I put my key ring in the middle, fold it over, and this is kind of weird here, but I staple it together so it doesn't get loose at this point. So take and put it 1 inch inside, find a reference point so they'll both be level, and tape it down here at the top. And don't forget to tape it down here on the metal piece, because that thing has a way of getting places it shouldn't be. And I'm doing the other one. Okay, got those taped down. Alrighty, what else have I forgotten? I always screw something up at this point. Okay, I think my brain is functioning fairly well, even though it's 12:40 in the morning. So let's take our piece of fabric we're going to use on the back of our bag, another piece of this pretty fabric with little puppies, and this is the correct orientation, the way you want to see it when you look at the back of the bag. So just take it and kind of fold it over like this, and now it'll be in the correct orientation, and just lay it over what's already there, but make sure that you are over the zipper by at least 1/4 of an inch. So you should be north of the zipper with the way this is with this piece of fabric. And then take whatever you're using for batting and put it over that. And just smooth it down. And let's take this to the sewing machine, the embroidery machine, and it will run a stitch all the way. We've got our zipper in, which is the most important thing. It's over here. Run this next step. It'll go along all 4 sides and close the bag up. So let's do that now. All right, you can see that I have had that sewn down, so it's sewn all the way around on all 4 corners. There's the zipper head right there. It didn't hit it. Let's turn, our last step is to turn the project over, take our, what should be the last piece of fabric we have, and we're going to put it right side down, and covering everything up that is here, we're going to put it 1/4 inch above this top exterior line here. Okay, and then we're going to tape it down on all 4 corners. Okay, and what this last step is going to do is leave a gap here in the bottom for us to put our hand to turn the bag. So let's get that over with, and the sewing will be completed. Okay, the sewing has been completed. You don't see much difference here on the front side, but turning over to the back, you do see that it has left a gap here to turn the bag through. The first time we turned it actually twice. And another note I wanted to give you is that on a different matter, I use Schmetz jean needles that I get at Joann's for that's the only needle I use, period. I just buy the little packs of 6 and run through the whole pack. I know there are different sizes in there, but they all work fine. And because this is all I do is bags, and you have 3 or 4, 5, 6 layers, and I never have a needle break. So even though we're doing some embroidery, I don't use embroidery needles. They just don't cut it with me. So anyhow, I just want to throw out that little bit of information in case you might be interested. Okay, we're going to now remove this from the hoop. Okay. And I'm going to take my pair of scissors, and I cut from the side here of the lining. I find it easier personally, but I cut a little angle here and then turn it, and then I just follow the line of stitching all the way around about, well, probably 1/4 of an inch or so from the stitch line. And I'll go ahead and show that. See, of course, this always happens, so you gotta keep watching that. Okay, that did good. did good. All right, now let's cut right around here again and stop right here where the stitching stops, and let's cut it at an angle. Okay, all that's fine. Set this aside for a moment. Let's clean up this junk. It gets on my nerves. All right, so now let's take and boy, this has a ragged edge. You have two pieces of lining you'll be looking at, and then in the middle, the first short piece, then you can see the stitch line here, and then of course the longer piece. Take your scissors and just go along here and cut it about 1/16 of an inch from this stitch line here. Don't cut any fingers off. Okay. Okay, nothing there I can use. Alrighty, that looks pretty good. Oh, that looks fine. So now we're going to turn it for the first time. Just reach in and turn. Okay. Oh, I didn't turn on my. I like to iron it down just now. So let me turn on my iron, which I forgot to do. And let me stop for a moment while that heats up. Alrighty, I'm back, and the iron is warmed up, so let me take and give it a little press here just to, but keep it moving because that piece of vinyl is here somewhere, so can't dilly-dally with that. Okay. Now turn in this first piece, the smaller piece, and iron it down. I'm taking the longer piece, and it's not very long, and tuck it in as best you can. Take these little side angle pieces and push them back in. It'll hold it somewhat, at least on the sides, but all right, that's about as good as it's going to do. And then take and iron that down. So we're going to take it now to the sewing machine, and I'm going to put a row of stitches right here along the gap to shut the gap up. So I'll be right back. Alrighty, I'm back, and this has been sewn at the bottom, closing the bottom up. And the next step, I'm going to take my paper towel stabilizer, which is what I use. People don't believe it, but I do. And just take it and okay. All right. And you can pick on that for a while because it's got a few pieces like any other stabilizer, but let me take my scissors here, and always have these little stragglers. All right. Okay, well, that's enough for now. Okay, now let's reach in, and first thing you want to do is remove this piece of tape, and then there's another piece of tape obviously on the other side. Let me open the zipper a little bit more. Okay, and reach in and grab that piece of tape, which I can feel it and hear it. There it is. Okay. All right, now turn the bag out. Let's see what we've made. And I apologize for having that step out of order where the satin stitch should have been later, but it is fixed now. in the file, so you won't have to. It's after all of this fill work has been done, so you won't have to worry with that. Yeah, it's a shame. Oh well, live and learn. All right, taking kind of massage everything into place as it should be. Making sure everything's pushed out, and then shut your zipper. And I'm going to take and place my little piece of my thick wash rag that got the Clorox, and I'm going to take and go over it real quickly, hoping my vinyl will not melt underneath. So just don't hesitate when you're doing that. And let's see what happened there. No, but it's hot, but it's okay. And let's turn over and do the back side too. Okay, love my iron. I've only had it a week or so, but it's so nice to have a cordless iron, and it is very hot. Okay, so this is what you have. I like it. I'd like it more if it didn't have all these holes in this satin stitch, but it won't. When you get the file, that will be corrected. And my little doggies, sweet little precious animals, and so that's that. And I think we're done. And I want to thank you for being with me and watching me make this. And if you obtain the pattern, I hope that you'll make something pretty for yourself or a loved one. And as I always do, I just thank everyone for the tremendous outpouring of encouragement and support. It's really heartwarming to know there are good people in this world, because I have clients from all over the world that buy my little patterns, and I get so much joy from making these. I hope everyone gets joy from when they make them on their machines at home. So that's it for today. I've got 3 or 4 more videos to do of purses that I'm getting backed up here. I've got to quit being lazy. So I'll see you folks very soon with another design and another tutorial. Hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.